all know, mini bike kart engines can get kind of expensive, especially when you start adding billet parts, cams, heads, and then you add in the time and tools to put them together, and it can get kind of costly. So is there an engine shop where you can buy a fully built stage 2, stage 3, stage 4 engine at a budget price? Bliss Performance Engines sells fully built stage 3, stage 4 long blocks, fully built motors, and he records every build or videotapes every build. So if you order an engine, you can go on his YouTube channel and watch your specific engine being built. So I have one of his stage 3 212 long blocks here that I'm going to test out on a bike. So it's a fully assembled motor. So you have your oil sensor plug and then your governor plugged up there on top. It also looks like this engine came with a magnetic oil plug. So the specs on this engine are 7,500 RPM, 3/4 output shaft, built stage 3, Ghost 212 crankshaft, high compression flat top piston, billet rod, dyno cam Super X CM265 hot grind, 26-pound valve springs, 4-degree advanced flywheel key on the 10,000 RPM cast flywheel for a total of 32 degrees timing. Then you have a full governor removal, oil sensor removal, 3 thousandths valve lash, and looks like you have 40 thousandths on the coil gap. So at the time of this video, this engine is around, I think it was 450 bucks on Bliss Performance eBay store. Oh, and by the way, he has 100% feedback. So you can see his ad for this engine. Yeah, $449.99. And then 17 bucks shipping, $18 shipping. So you got built 212cc, stage 3, CM265, hot grind, Super X, 14 plus horsepower, long block. So I think I have the perfect bike to test this engine out on. I have this GTS bike that I just installed a disc brake on, so I can kind of cruise the engine around, get some heat cycles in there, and test out my brake before I really get on it. Yeah, so I just threw a brake on here, so I think this will be the perfect bike to test that on. It does have a super highway gear though, so we'll see if that engine is able to pull my super small sprocket. So this engine comes with a fuel tank, gas tank. I really don't need on the GTS bike because it already has a gas tank. And then you have to come up with your own carburetor and header pipe. Yeah, so this GTS bike doesn't need that tank, so I can pull that off of there. Easy enough. It's a nice tank though. I can actually use that for another project. It's nice and narrow, so I can fit it in a frame. Then I have this Coso carb lying around here, which is essentially a PWK. I mean, it has a D slide, 26 millimeter. The only difference is it doesn't have the power valve on the back to add that extra fuel. So I just have to jet accordingly. Then I have this nibby, 26 millimeter. And I might just throw this on there because the slide is already on the GTS bike for that nibby. Then of course I have my Stinger exhaust. Hopefully this fits in the GTS frame. One of the header pipes I have lying around here, so I might as well use it. So I'll pull this tank off of here. There was a couple things that I couldn't install on the exhaust. One is the exhaust brace. Yeah, normally the brace goes from there to the head, which sometimes has a hole right here, but it's not a big deal. is I just make an extension for it. But it'll be all right. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? And then another thing, which I can't run on the exhaust, is the tip for the baffle, because I lost the screws. But that's okay, we'll just run it in beast mode. I mean, I'm always losing something around here. But anyway, so now we'll go out and I'll break this thing in and test the brake to see if it works. Hopefully it stops. If it doesn't, I still have the scrub brake. I added the oil that he gave me in the kit. So anyway, let me put some gas in this thing and we'll see if it fires up. Fired up. I was able to find the cover, the baffle cover for the header pipe, so we don't have to go beast mode, so it'll be a little bit quieter. Oh, my brake actually works. Cool. Cruise this thing around for a minute, kind of get it broke in a little bit. Yeah, definitely a little bit quieter with that cap on there. This brake actually works. Cool. It's actually a trip having a disc brake on a GTS bike. So it feels pretty good so far. I think my jetting might be off just a little bit at the top though. It feels kind of flat up on top. When I get up there just a little bit, let me get on it a little bit more and we'll see. Yeah, it feels good in the mid-range, but up on top it feels kind of flat. Get on it a little bit right here. Yeah, definitely. Kind of lean or something. Let me go check out that jetting real quick. Yeah, when you get on it, up towards the top, it just seems kind of flat. But I think it's running super lean, maybe. I can't remember what jet I have in this car. Let me check it out. So let's see what we have here. At least it's nice and clean. Before I pull the jet out of here, let me check this plug real quick. I think it's running a little bit lean. It seems like it. Yeah, it looks like it is. It's got a 120 main in it, so you'd think that's big enough, but it sure seems flat up there. So let me see if I can find a little bit bigger jet. These nibby carbs. On my other one too, I noticed I had to run a little bit bigger jet. Every carb's different. So we'll find out. Okay, so we ended up with a 38 Pilot and then a 125 main, which is kind of big for up here actually, 3,700 foot elevation. I usually get away with like a 115 or so. With the nibby, you never know. My other nibby's the same way. I had to run a little bit bigger jet. So anyway, I will fire it up once it's warmed up, and then I will turn the air screw out until it reaches its highest idle, where it's running its most efficient, and then I'll see how many turns on out. And if it's not more than like 3.5 turns out, then I know the Pilot jet's in the ballpark. But if it's out that far, then the Pilot jet is definitely too rich. And then I will check the tip-in throttle response, and then if it hesitates there, I'll adjust the needle. And then once I get all that tuned up, I'll run out and test the top. So we get this thing fired up, we'll test the Pilot jet. So I turned the air screw out until it reached its highest idle. So we'll see where we're at. Let me turn it back in now. So we got 1/2, 1, and about 1 1/4, 1.5, 1 1/4, so 1. So we're okay on the Pilot jet. I mean, it's in the ballpark, but the tip-in throttle response seems like it's hesitating a little bit. So I will pull the clip off that needle and knock it down 1 slot. So that way it'll have a little bit more fuel. It seems like it's running a little bit lean on the tip-in throttle response with that hesitation right there. And if I can get that out of there, then I will go test the top. Probably won't hurt to drop this down 1 slot. So I'll drop the needle down 1 slot. That'll pull the needle out a little bit to allow more fuel in there. Man, the truck's going by. Anyway, so pop the clip off of there. There we go. And then I'll move it down 1 slot. Let me pop it back on there. There we go. Okay, so we're down 1 slot. So that lifts the needle out. See what that does. Hopefully that'll do it to it. So we'll see if that takes care of the tip-in throttle response. And if it does, then I'll go test it out for top speed. Okay, that seems a lot better. Man, these trucks today. But anyway, so yeah, that seems a lot better. Seems like it has more or a more crisp throttle response. So we ended up with a 38 Pilot. I moved the clip down and then I threw in a bigger main. So we basically richened up the entire carb. So we'll see what that does. Pretty snappy. Yeah, it seems like these nibbies like a little bit more fuel than the PWK. So we're going in the right direction. It feels a little bit better. lot better. The mid-range definitely feels a lot better. Yeah, you can tell it definitely cleans out a little bit better than it did before. Well, I'll tell you what, these nibbies definitely need more fuel than PWK. Because this thing runs pretty good with a 125 main. Yeah, I tried a 125 in a PWK and it does not like it. But then you have that power jet too that adds fuel on the top. So you really don't need that big of a jet. It seems like it could use maybe just a slightly even bigger main. Because right there at the top, it's cutting out just a little bit. So far, so good. Everything's held together. Sounds pretty good. So there you go. Another mini bike engine option. So this bike is running a 26 millimeter nibby, but you could get away with a 24 with a small valve head. Either one, I think would work pretty good. Either one is really close to the intake valve size. Also, when I unboxed this engine, it does come with some extra stuff. So it had this gasket kit and then the shim head gasket, and then it had another magnetic oil plug. He said all of his engines come with that extra stuff. So if you want to get in contact with Bliss Performance Engines, you can do it on Instagram or on his eBay store.